and then went home. And then I called Carlton to get Kelly's number. And then I was calling Kelly to get Beyonce's number. And I called Kelly and said, "Hey, Kelly." She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I know this might be kind of weird, but what's Beyonce's number?" And she said, "This is Beyonce," because they live together and I didn't know it. And bam.
Big Dog and all the 581 ballers. I love y'all.
Beyonce.
Solange, my little sister Angie, Lyndall, I love y'all.
Solange, Beyonce, my younger sister Angie, and Lyndall. I adore you all. I'm having a problem. Who in the world could have made a worse mistake than Beyonce's former partner, Linda Lockcatch? Let me wait. Actually, since the answer is no one, I don't have to. More than 20 years have passed since Beyonce ended that relationship, and their lives couldn't be more different. Unquestionably one of the greatest performers, Beyonce is a megastar with songs that last for days, whereas Lyndall is just Lyndall. It gets even hotter, though, since Lyndall Locke has been talking about his time with Beyonce, and his remarks have left everyone speechless. I mean, how did Beyonce act when the cameras weren't there? Did Queen truly cheat on him by seeing Jay-Z? What exactly about Beyonce does he know that we don't? Because you spilled it. Nowadays, the majority of us instantly think of Jay-Z. When we think of Beyonce, because it seems like they have been together for ages. To be completely honest, though, most of us can't see Beyonce with anybody else. However, there was a lot of Linda before Jay. Additionally, he was by her side at some of the most significant turning points in her life. I'm referring to the time when she was still working hard and pursuing auditions everywhere to establish her reputation. Thus, Lyndall is the one who knows the most about Beyonce's past before everyone was aware of her name. The problem is that in 1993, at the ages of 12 and 14, Lyndall and Beyonce first crossed paths. Kelly Rowland was the one who formally introduced them, and they were both members of the same Houston church. And based on what Lyndall is telling, he fell in love right away. He believed that she was the most beautiful girl in the world, and that she looked like an angel. Sparks were flying everywhere as soon as they met. Additionally, Beyonce and Linz talked on the phone and spent a lot of time together after school before beginning a romantic relationship. As you are aware by now, Beyonce began singing and dancing at a very young age. And until 2 years into their relationship, Lyndall was unaware of all of that. He simply saw that Kelly and Beyonce frequently traveled to Atlanta on a monthly basis. She was still the quiet, reserved student at school when she returned. Queen Bee told him that she had been attending industry executive auditions and aspired to become a celebrity when he questioned her about why she was traveling so frequently.
Time y'all was so young. I mean, was she actually singing then?
Yeah.
She was.
Yeah, she was never not singing, but she did not. It wasn't anything she talked about. She didn't talk about. Like, I found out like over time. You know, it has to. You have to say something wrong. Like, I'm going out of town. It's like, okay. It's like, I'm out of town. Where you at? I'm in Atlanta. What are you in Atlanta? You know, I mean, it's like, it has to. So, and when she brought up, first time she brought up, I'm sorry if I talk fast, I mumble, and I'm playing with my Rubik's Cube. But when she mentioned it, she said, I don't normally talk about this. I don't like to talk about this. This is, it's not a part of her life that she wants to put into other people's world so that, it was personal to her. So I left it there.
She was pretty humble about the situation at the time.
Yeah. Nobody wants to talk about getting a record deal.
Furthermore, Beyonce never gave up on her goals despite her youth. She still found time for Lyndall whenever she could, though. Additionally, when she was 15, the two of them enjoyed their first kiss at a Brian McKnight performance. Beyonce somehow managed to carve out time from her hectic schedule to accompany Lyndall Locke to significant occasions like his high school prom when Destiny's Child really began to take off. And she accompanied Lyndall and his friends on their outings. But things only became more difficult after that. Everyone in their immediate vicinity believed that Beyonce and Lyndall were doomed to be together forever after witnessing their intense love for one another. However, as soon as Destiny's Child began to grow, it gradually became clear that their paths in life were diverging significantly. Beyonce was out there performing, traveling, and moving closer to her goals every day. Lyndall, meanwhile, was essentially at a halt. He had nothing to do. To think too much about the future. Thus, Lyndall was at home getting high while Beyoncé and Destiny's Child were out promoting their group's first hit single.
I took it for granted.
Took it for granted?
Yeah, I want to say that's what it was. Taking it for granted, and then, let's say, took it for granted, and then checked to see if she thought I took it for granted. And then she answered me with yes, bye. Yeah.
So you pretty much play with her emotions or something?
No, it wasn't on purpose. This was not on purpose. This was looking back at the situation and seeing the situation for what it was. You know, at the time it was just I went and did something else, and then went to her house and went to sleep. And then when I was supposed to be hanging out with her, and then the next day, you know, went to go do something else again. I mean, that's what it was. That's the actions that were taking place. But with those actions, what was occurring was me taking it for granted.
Even so, they made an effort to support one another, but by the time DC released their second album, the cracks were beginning to emerge. Lyndall even said that I was aimless and enjoying myself, whereas she was all about image and job. It became clear that she was changing once they began to smash big. She grew distant. When I told her that she was evolving into a completely different kind of person, she gave me a look and replied, I am. During a disagreement regarding their shared life, Lyndall bluntly stated to Beyoncé that he wished for them to lead a straightforward, everyday life. However, Beyoncé became irate at the mention of it and reminded him that, as a child, she was entitled to this life and would not sacrifice it for anyone, including him. Lyndall's difficult situation was exacerbated when Matthew Knowles drew him aside and asked him directly about his future plans. Furthermore, Lyndall had nothing to say. How embarrassing must it have been for him to be questioned about his job aspirations repeatedly and to always have nothing to say? It must have been really awkward to have them treat you like you were nothing in comparison to their daughter, so I'm willing to wager that he fled whenever he noticed Matthew Knowles approaching. And eventually insufficient. And the conflicts in his relationship with Beyoncé were the source of his discomfort when it wasn't Matthew. She couldn't help but have higher expectations for Lyndall now that she was surrounded by other business executives, particularly guys who had significant wealth and influence. However, he was unable to live up to her expectations. To see Janet Jackson, Beyoncé once obtained backstage passes. When Lyndall first met the girl, he was really apprehensive. He was stuttering and continued to babble endlessly. Who can blame him, though? Given that she is genuinely the Janet Jackson living legend, I'm sure we wouldn't even know what to say if we met her today. Despite this, everyone could see Lyndall's anxious energy. Janet smiled and told him that he made her think of one of her nephews, to which he replied that her nephew must be really great. Lyndall didn't give his actions much thought at the moment since, after all, how else was he expected to behave? In front of Janet Jackson? But listen, Beyoncé requested her cousin Angie to go out with him since she didn't feel that way at all. Yes, Lyndall was hurt by it. He couldn't see why it was illegal to be thrilled about meeting someone he had long respected, even though he wanted to realize that Beyoncé was only there on business and merely attempting to preserve her reputation. And because he began behaving out severely, it appears that Lyndall began to feel pressured to be or do something if he wanted his relationship with Beyoncé to last. He was also out on the streets, drinking and sleeping with other women whenever Beyoncé was out of town. But did Beyoncé give a damn? She did, however, continue to forgive him and was attempting to make up for their increasing separation by recognizing his significance in her life with songs like Perfect Man and Dangerously in Love. Beyoncé also offered him a particular shout-out when her debut album was published, stating, "Thank you, Lyndall. I dedicate Second Nature to you since you are incredibly dear to me."
Dangerously in Love, that's the number one B song, Dangerously in Love, because that song was written for me and about me. So,
Dangerously in Love?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's number one, that's my favorite song.
However, there was simply no way that they could remain together after that. When Beyoncé attended all of these industry events as a teenager, she was very different. During this time, Lyndall was still a hometown kid who was unsure of his future. Nevertheless, he continued to express his desire that they could start a life together, saying that even though their paths in life had diverged so much, a part of him was still clinging to her because of the love and memories they shared. Given that Beyoncé had been checked out and was moving on to larger and better things, it appears that Lyndall was the only person still in that relationship. And I mean Jay-Z when I say better. Beyoncé was approached by Lyndall in 2003 regarding the reports that she and Jay-Z were dating. Additionally, the fact that they were dating was more or less a mystery to everyone around them. However, Beyoncé continued to categorically deny it. She claimed that even though Jay wasn't her type, she still had feelings for Lyndall. Regarding how and when she and Jay-Z first met, she was never able to provide him with a solid response. Additionally, her responses changed each time he questioned her. But there was nothing left to lie about when her 21st birthday arrived that year. It was impossible to reassemble the components. And that day marked the official end of their romance. Since Beyoncé and Lyndall didn't communicate after that day, it's possible that she didn't want anything connecting her to her past. Furthermore, Lyndall never truly forgot about her. How, after all, could he? Since she is one of the most well-known celebrities in the world, she is present everywhere. Nevertheless, he has admitted that his greatest regret is losing her. Additionally, he stated, "My greatest regret is still losing.
Bye.
Since she was the love of my life and I was hers. She would often tell me, Lyndall, I'm afraid I'll never be able to live my life without you. I want to keep you as my own forever." However, he was now limited to observing her from a distance. Fans also concurred that it was all for the best, because it's likely that Beyoncé wouldn't have achieved her current success. He wouldn't have succeeded if she had remained and clung to him since he wasn't prepared to change. Playing around and having fun are nice, but he wouldn't make it in the direction she was going. He was simply an ordinary guy, whereas she was on her way to the top. It would never remain the same. After that, I wouldn't get married. He will never find someone better than Beyoncé, let's face it. However, do you guys believe that their romance ended as it should have? Did Lyndall actually make a mistake with Beyoncé? Post your thoughts in the comments section. Additionally, remember to like and subscribe, as there will be more in the future. I'll see you in the upcoming video, too. Goodbye, baddies.